Welcome to Small Business Saturday.
Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Kylene Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays here. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me here this morning. Having a little bit of a challenge trying to get broadcast live over to the Club OSG group. So hopefully you guys are finding it over on YouTube. We put a quick link in there. So anyhow, we'll see what happens here. Todd's working on it in the background as well. So thanks, Todd, for jumping in here this morning. So my name's Kylene Montgomery. I'm with our Success Group. It's been a little bit since I've been back here in the home studio, and we took a week off last week as I was away on my honeymoon, and not because I recently got married, but we waited. We decided, well, it just didn't pan out that we were able to go on that honeymoon until just recently, thanks to my wife's parents. So thanks very much to them. Speaking of my wife, she's going to join me here this morning because we're going to be talking about online parties and live events. And she's got some experience with the online parties from some work she's done with a couple of different businesses she works with. But currently she's working with a company called Crunchy. And so they've advocated for that kind of a platform. So we thought, okay, well, how does this work for a garment decorator, and how can we kind of figure this out? Plus, talk a little bit about online live events and kind of how that looks and works. And then any questions that you guys have, we're happy to answer. Or if we don't know the answer, we will find somebody who does. So let's check in here real quick before we dive in. Connie, good morning. Thanks for being here. And Sandy, hello. Thank you for tuning in this morning. And we have a Facebook user here this morning. If you have not had an opportunity to go to this link, it's oursuccess.group/Facebook. That would be a great place to go. Just let them have permission so we know who we're talking to here, and going from there. So let me do this. I'm going to bring Kylene in here. And sorry about the clunky introduction, Kylene, but welcome in this morning. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And sorry about little challenges here on the on the technical side. So kind of trying to sort that out. But Kylene, before we get started, and we'll kind of bounce all over the place here and cover, getting into whatever questions we need to get into. Glad to see Connie here because this, I believe, if I remember right, it's been a little bit, Connie, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this was something that you were asking about. And so hopefully we can get all of Connie's questions answered as well. So real quick, while I'm trying to take care of something here in the background, give us a little bit of a background. I kind of clumsily shared why you're here with us this morning. So maybe give us a little more background there, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So I'm part of a company that is all about toxin-free, clean beauty, and they have skincare and makeup. And that's kind of their mission, is to have eco-friendly packaging as well as ingredients in their products that will not harm you or your littles. They have a littles line as well. So it is a network marketing company. And I've been a part of another one in the past, but this company really has a different approach to selling, if you will, and growing. And they call it the Crunchy style. So the name of the business is Crunchy. And basically, they're all about education. So you lead with education. And I think that's kind of what Aaron's been saying all along. You lead with service. How can you help others? And then as you share, then people start to trust you and know that what you're sharing is valid. And that's kind of how Crunchy approaches it. So I'm really pleased that I'm part of this awesome company. And they have really taken the online party and kind of made it something special. And so that's, I think, what I want to share, because we can apply that to anything new that we are offering our customers.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right. Well, let's dive into this then, if that works for you there. So, all right, let's start off. So you're talking about maybe, yeah. Tell us that. How would you define this idea of an online event? We'll get into some of the why and stuff like that, and even the how and stuff like that. But just give us a little bit more of a definition of how you describe an online event, and then I'll give my idea, and then we'll go from there.
So for me, I look at it as a way to share with more people. I can share with in-person events, but then I'm so limited to my local community. But the online, it allows you to share with so many more people. The other cool thing is people can invite other people, and then your network just grows even more as far as sharing what you're sharing with others. So I love it. And you can have a host, and then the host is connected to your event. And so if it's, let's say you have a new cool t-shirt design and or a new tumbler that you're offering, whatever it might be, you could have like a partner that would be a co-host with you, and then they could invite people, you could invite people. And then people are more likely to say yes and attend your event when they recognize that person versus just a random event that people see. So it really gives that personal connection to your event. And that's what I like about it, is you can make it really personalized and kind of more intimate. Even though it's online, it still has that same feeling as in person. So that's kind of how I would look at it.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a great definition. So we'll leave that. So everybody hang on to that real quick, because I do want to start, Kylene, on the live selling side of things here, which is a little different than what you're talking about. And again, just to give people some context here, how does that feel different to you?
I mean, for the events, you're building that relationship, in my opinion, and people will, I mean, eventually, if they trust what you're sharing with them, they will purchase, but it doesn't have the immediate purchase ability at that moment. Like, I guess I would view the live events like, am I following?
Yep. No, you're exactly following. That sounds right. Where a live event, you're kind of going, and when we talk about a live event, we're talking about a live online event, and so with a live event, you're kind of scheduling and having a place where you go online and you're showing goods. If I and of course, right now I don't have any products sitting in front of me here, but let's say I was selling these little fun little signs here, and so I would go online and I would say, okay, guys, well, so today we've got this new fun, cool sign that's double-sided and blah, 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 and explain it and use it and show it off and talk about it. And, and we've got only 15 of them left. And so if you'll go to the link below, you can purchase one and it'll ship today and that kind of thing. So that's, I think, to me, what I'm talking about when we're talking about a live event.
Yep.
So does that sound about right to you?
Yep, definitely.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's start there then. So with that idea of live selling in that framework, what just off the top of your head here, right? What are some of the things that you would think that need to kind of go into the front side of this? Because I think, like everything, we've got to have a plan here, right? We've got to have that step. So if you said, okay, I'm going to sell my wares by doing an online live event, as opposed to, what you would do to go to a market or vendor fair, or, that kind of or even having a storefront. What's the different side of planning that would go on in your mind, Kylene?
Well, I mean, I think organization is going to be huge when it comes to that. You're going to have to know exactly what you have for your inventory. And I would even think that you would almost need an assistant to kind of keep track of that for you during those events, so you don't oversell. I mean, I would just think that you would want some kind of system in place, so when people are saying, yes, I want that item, you're not overselling, and therefore you would potentially lose trust, or people would get irritated, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's exactly it. And it does. So that's the starting point. Like I said, get organized, have that plan in place, what you're going to sell, how many of them, document all that. And like I said, that'll give you that opportunity, because just like what we're going to talk about here in a second with the online parties, you're kind of building a quick relationship, not to the level of what you're talking about with the online parties, but yeah, it comes down to trust. So I look at this like, if I'm going to go to a vendor fair or a craft fair, kind of that place where, I set up a booth for a day or a weekend or whatever, somebody walks up to you, that's a face-to-face meeting. There's some level of building trust, that direct eye contact, maybe even shaking a hand or any of that stuff. And that is like, you quickly build trust in that moment. And we don't really think about that a whole lot, but that's really what's going on. Somebody's walking up to you, looking at your stuff. Are you smiling? How do you come across? Are you proud of the products that you're selling? And like that, when we're face to face, we build that trust. But when I'm sitting on the other side of a camera and a microphone like this, there's a little bit more that has to go into building that trust, because when we're there live face to face, the other thing that they can do to kind of build trust in what they're getting is they can touch and feel it.
Yep.
And with a live selling event, they can't touch and feel it. So it becomes, you have to be descriptive enough, you have to be energetic enough, you have to be more over the top with, how excited you are about the product in a video format than if somebody's there and they're able to touch and feel and get that tactile trust built. So I think you're exactly right. Getting that planning done, getting all those pieces in place, as far as what you're going to sell, how many, what the terms are, how are they going to engage with that product. And again, you don't need a whole lot of crazy back end technical stuff. You just need to have that kind of planned out, so we're using StreamYard here for this, and you could have all of your products laid out specifically. Connie, good point. I'll get to that in 1 second. You have all of your products laid out specifically, and as you bring it up, then, like you said, if you have an assistant or somebody kind of producing in the background, it is just a matter of, okay, so if this was, and I don't have one right now, but I'll just pretend that, this was the link and say, okay, great. So yes, we've got 10 of these, and, so head on down to the link and go from there. So I think that's the first part. Now let's get to this comment from Connie here real quick, because I think this is a very good point, and I want to make sure we get that across. Not too much over the top, or it sometimes appears fake. Yeah. And that's a good point. Kylene, you want to address that real quick, and then I'll give my opinion as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge. And we can almost, if you just want to be as genuine as you can, not so scripted to the point where people aren't trusting what you're saying. So if you're just reading something, I don't think people are going to have that genuine connection with you. So just being you, and however that shows up is completely fine. And I think that to me, that's what that comment means.
Yeah. No, I think you're dead on with that. But the other side of that though is my comment about you got to kind of get a little bit more and be a little bit more energetic and alive and again, over the top is definitely a fine line to walk, like Connie's talking about. I think Connie's exactly right with this, but you got to be, because you're going to be at first a little hesitant, a little unsure. It's a little uncomfortable, right? To have this, where you're basically selling to a camera, obviously at this stage, in 2021 here, we're all getting a little more used to that, but there's still that apprehension that you got to overcome. So yeah, you don't want to go completely over the top because then it appears fake. But you do have to be just a little bit more of yourself than you might normally be. So
yeah.
How's that sound? All right. So, and then when you're getting into it, Kylene, let's talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts of actually in the selling. You'd mentioned, maybe having a helper or an assistant of some sort. How can you visualize that person's role and where does that fit in and how could that person help you?
Well, I would just think that person would be monitoring how many sales are actually in. So they could feed you the information when that product is potentially close to selling out or has sold out, or or if people really aren't buying that, maybe you could come back to it at a later point. I don't know, just keeping you informed of what's happening in the background.
Yeah.
Since you're not getting that immediate feedback from people when you're in a live event. I would think that would be, they also could be, I know in our mastermind group, Nan had talked about this before, and she had the idea of having an assistant model for the t-shirts, having someone actually have the item on. I could see an assistant in that role as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I agree that assistant person would play that role of, kind of being, because I don't want to, if I'm doing, like, for example, if I was doing an online selling event right now, this is not how I would be set up. I would figure out some way to be standing first and foremost. I would figure out some way to not have this microphone in my way so I can move my hands and try stuff on. And so you'd have to kind of figure out the audio, because like if you're doing shirts, for example, and you're trying them on, you don't want to be, you could use a little lavalier mic like this. But if you're doing that and I'm taking a shirt on and off, I'm basically constantly hitting it and causing this popping sound in the background and whatnot. So having that assistant who can kind of help you with that interaction, help you kind of, instead of fumbling around for a product or something like that. And it doesn't, I could honestly, Kylene, the more I talk about this, I can totally see this being something that like our 10-year-old Lewis would be great at. He would be a great little assistant where, he would bring some level of personality to it that, you couldn't manufacture of having your kiddo help you out if that's something that you're comfortable with doing. If our son's been online with us a lot in videos, so it's it's something that he would be comfortable doing. So
but I think if you're genuinely excited about what you're selling during this live event, I mean, it's gonna come across with how you're sharing it. And then if you have the people showing it off for you, it just kind of comes to life.
Yeah, totally. So, okay. So from there, and I think Connie also has another great point. We should just get Connie to join us online.
Yeah, I think she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Connie says, I think practicing with online private parties with a couple of friends and or family before you do an actual one, they can give feedback that will make the actual party better. I think this is also a fantastic idea. And I think the other thing here along this line, Kylene, is, make sure that your expectations out of the gate are are in line, right? I mean, we want to dream big, and we want to, push, and we want to try to kind of push ourselves, but at the same time, it's not going to be this overnight success or sensation. Very low likelihood that your live event becomes this viral event. So you may only have a couple or a few people tuned in, and so it is important to make sure that you are sharing with your friends and family, just to have that people to take it in and give you feedback on what you can do and whatnot. But I would say, to just jump in and do it, though. If it's something that you think that you'd like to explore, I think the number one piece of advice that I would give people, Kylene, is this: take action, right? Just I hate to steal the phrase, but it works for a reason. Just do it. You need to get in there and be okay with it not being exactly everything that you dream. So
and some of my trainings with just doing online events, I've heard people say, just do it ugly, just so you're actually practicing and doing it. And then, like you said, having your expectations in line, not going in thinking you're going to get 100 sales, not that you want to set your goals low, but don't be discouraged if you get 5, learn from it and then keep growing.
Yeah, totally.
And change it.
All right. I agree with that 100%. That's a really good piece of advice here. So Kylene, Connie's got a question for us here. And I'd love to get your take on this first, and then I will happily share as well. Do you think that online live parties are better than just a party that lasts a few days?
I think it depends on what you're selling. I think if you really are trying to build an ongoing relationship with these potential customers and building that community over a few days with maybe, and I'll talk about this later, with a couple special live events built in, would be more beneficial.
Yeah.
Because then people really are creating that bond with you versus a quick 2-hour, you're kind of expecting just to share and then move on to your next thing. It's not an ongoing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that makes sense to me, where, when you're thinking about just a online live party event, whatever, selling event, that is less of a, I want to connect with you and engage and educate and kind of have you be part of this community, as opposed to, I've got cool stuff, I think you want it, and here it is, and there's a special because you've taken the time to join this live video. And that's definitely a different relationship there, for sure. And again, I don't necessarily personally think that there's anything better or worse with either style. I think both can do well, because if you are able to just kind of do that not quick hit. I mean, obviously there's going to be, like we said, planning and stuff going on there, but it's a, okay, like you said, 1 hour, 2 hour scenario where you're making some sales, and now you've got a customer. So then at that point, you still at least have their contact information, and you have that ability to take that customer and turn them into a raging fan, a raving loyal fan, not raging, raving loyal fan. We don't want raging customers. Typically a raging customer is not a good thing, but
yeah. And then as they continue to see you, then you're just building that trust over time.
Yeah, totally.
And
then you're very welcome, Connie. I think, Kylene, you made a lot of sense there. So there you go. She says, thanks. It makes sense. So with that being said, there, one other quick thing, or a couple more things about this whole kind of one-time live selling event. I think the other thing you might want to think about and look at is really targeting into a niche, like a real specific niche, and then maybe potentially partnering with that community. Having that, so maybe your products are pet related, but that they're very specific. In the past, I had an opportunity to work with a young lady that had a company called corgithings.com. And so it was very corgi related. And so maybe if you had some, and there was a community of these corgi people. In fact, Lewis really loved Wiggle Butt Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's what people love about corgis, is how wiggly their butts are. Not obviously lots of things they love about corgis, but that's that one stands out. So, seeing if you can, partner with the community. Maybe it's a school, and so you're going to do you're selling school merchandise, and you're going to do a live event, and so you're going to invite the PTA president to join you and talk about what the funds are going to be used for, and the fundraising, and kind of so building on maybe a fundraiser that you're doing. Todd had a great training on the 16th inside of our Success Group membership that talked all about fundraising. And so that could be an add-on way to get them to share more, is to have that opportunity for them to share that live event and go from there. So, Connie says, I've been to many online parties and some have been so boring. There's no engagement. What are your thoughts on that, Kylene?
I think
Connie said?
That comes with the planning. You need to have different posts, if it's over a few days, you have different posts that some are engaging. You have little giveaways in there. You just kind of have to break it up. You can't just, and I learned that the hard way. I think the first event I had, I literally read the history of the company. This is way back when, but I could just see everyone's face just kind of go, oh my God, why did I come here?
I do remember that one. I think the one saving grace that you had in that was that inside of that part of the sharing, that it was I think it was a Friday night, or it was an evening, and you encouraged everybody to show up with their glass of wine. So there at least was wine being shared.
That was the only thing that saved me, I think.
Yeah.
But I was just going with, they try to help, this was a different company, but they were trying to help. And I think if you had more of that confidence and that energetic personality, it probably wouldn't have been so dry and boring, but I was so nervous and just read it.
Yep. There you go. Okay. Well, and that learning experience and you've learned from it. And now since then you've actually hosted or supported your group to be able to host a couple of these events. And so we're still kind of getting to that. So sorry, we're dragging our feet, but there's a couple other little quick points that I want to make sure that we make here on this kind of more public online selling event. And then we'll get into this other side of it. This I don't know. I'm having a really hard time describing both of them because I know what we have them at, live events and online parties. And so I guess what I'm talking about is a live online event. And so the one other thing, I mentioned that you don't really need a whole lot of really technical stuff and whatnot, but if you would like to up your game, there are some opportunities here. One of the first things I might suggest, if you're thinking about more of this public live online event, is to make sure that your website or your product line is set up on Facebook products as a shop, as a Facebook shop, because I think that's a great way. Facebook will the algorithm will find that if you are in this video engagement event and you are sharing links to your Facebook shop and keeping people engaged inside of Facebook, that's going to move that event up the algorithm more, and it will get on more people's timelines by kind of leveraging Facebook shops. And again, the way I would probably do it, and we've done some training inside our Success Group about shops in the past, and I think there's a place for it somewhat, but I also think that maybe the better thing is to have an Ecwid or a Shopify or a WooCommerce or something like that, and then have that linked into your Facebook shop, and you can go that way. So, any thoughts on that real quick, Kylene, before I move on to my next point here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would come into just the planning ahead, so you can have all that built in there and ready to go. But I think it also gives your product more credit too when it looks more official like that in the shops.
Yeah, cool. And then if you really want to go big, and this is something that you're going to do regularly, I know a couple of people, in fact, inside of our industry, there's a gentleman that Kylene and I actually have met personally, been to dinner at his house, Michael Guccione, and he's with a company called SewForLess.com. And he does that regularly. They get on and, here's the scissors, here's here's the thing that we sell. And there's giveaways, there's, and it does have that feel to it. And they do it pretty regularly. I don't know if he's using a software specifically, but I know other people that use some different things. And the one that stands out the most, the one that people seem to bring up the most as I was looking for information on what to use, is a tool called Comments Sold. And I've not used it, and I don't have any kind of use case specific things here, but like I said, I did some research on this beforehand, and this is what kept popping up. So here's the link. Let me put it up down below here. It's try.commentsold.com. And it allows you to kind of interact with those comments, and basically it says sell everywhere. And so they've got direct selling, some different use cases if you go and check out that website. So really not a whole lot more than I just wanted to share that website there. But Kylene, this is kind of a random way off base question. So if you don't have an answer, please don't feel like you have to make one up. But have you heard of anything else like this?
I have not.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I think with that though, Kylene, let's go ahead and actually start switching gears. And so I want everybody to kind of remove that live online event hat. and honestly, I think there's some ways that you can actually integrate that whole idea of this live event into an online party.
Yep.
But here's the way that I kind of look at it in my brain is, if I'm thinking about a Facebook Live event, that's just kind of out there to the public, and yeah, it's like showing up at a wide open vendor event, craft fair, that kind of thing, and being a vendor. So on the other side of it, when we talk about online parties, to me, that is more about, let's invite some communities. It's inside a closed Facebook group or something along those lines, so we can talk about that. So making those two distinctions, Kylene, maybe if you could first share with everybody kind of some ideas about why they might want to look at an online party. What, you've kind of come to it from your work that you've done with, I don't know the best term, the multi-level marketing, that
network marketing. Yeah.
Network marketing. Thank you. I always use multi-level marketing, and I know that's not what they prefer to be called, but network marketing. And that can be a big part of a lot of these network marketing companies' ways to go. And Connie's basically saying we're finally getting to it here. Private group parties. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect, Connie. All right. Well, good. We can finally on track. Only 37 minutes in. But people that maybe aren't as familiar with it, why is this something good? And I know you talked about relationships already, but help give us a couple other ideas of why this is good.
So, the main reason is to expand your network. So the cool thing about it, it's free. As we all know, you can have a party online and it's free.
Oh.
You can come too.
I like the party.
It helps drive people to what your service is or what your business is. And you get to provide your education about your product or service. Again, you expand your network, and then ultimately it will lead to sales as you go. And I think that's the important reason, because our communities are only so big, and this allows you to expand all over, and people can attend, and they can also attend when it's convenient for them. I think that's the huge part.
Yeah. And not only convenient for them, but in a convenient, safe space, right?
Yeah.
Like I think of it like, I don't know, obviously I've not been to a lot of Tupperware parties or things like that where you'd go into somebody's home, and I get that there's something to be said with that, but in an online party, as Connie says, they have their own snacks and drinks, so you're not providing the wine and the all this other stuff, but there's still that same feel to it, and you're connecting with people from all across the country, heck, the world, if you really wanted to. So all right, so you talked about why. You also mentioned education in there, and one point I wanted to make about that is not only think about the education about your product or kind of what you do and that kind of thing, but think about it from an education to the community that you're participating with. For example, with you, Kylene, we're talking about Crunchy, and a big part of Crunchy is toxin-free beauty and reducing the toxin loads on our body. I think I'm getting it right. What else did I miss on that?
Yeah, and their environmental.
Yeah, their environmental impact and yes, thank you. And so that education is not only just about what it is you're selling, and again, this can work for anything, whether we're selling decorated goods, network marketing products, services. Heck, you could do something like that for services, but educating about the community and why the people are drawn to that community. I mean, if it is just a friends group, if you're kind of, you've got a friend that's bringing in friends, you could even, we're talking about engagement here, Connie, and everybody else tuned in. I feel like I'm just having a great conversation with you and Connie here, but so if it's a group of friends, you can also maybe even do something fun educational wise, like, see if you can get pictures of them from when they were 5, or that kind of, again, whatever to do. Connie had mentioned that sometimes have been boring, there was no engagement, and I think that term there, engagement's really key. So Kylene, you want to expand on engagement and then maybe start getting us into how you might do this?
So I think so you set up your event, but to answer your question, like as far as engagement goes and switching up your posts, some of the things that I've done and tried have been really successful is, having like posts, like having a dance off. So people will post like a GIF or GIF, I don't know how you say it, of a dance. And then it just kind of, I've had so much fun with that and seeing what people share, and it's really brought everyone together and kind of created a lighter mood to the feeling of the group. And just little posts like that, like if you had to do this, what would you eliminate in your life, or just having fun posts included instead of just the environmental impact, or you can reuse this tumbler over and over and over. A variety is good.
Sure.
Is that what you were?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Asking.
And I just want to know that when you did the dance GIF, whatever, right? Did you then also do a video of you doing the floss, or how did that work out? How is your floss,
there is no video anymore, is there?
I
think it might have gotten deleted.
I don't think floss is still a thing, but
no,
only for old people like me. I find it entertaining.
But yeah.
Go ahead, Kylene.
So you can just see like how like just a post like that can generate people having more fun with your event instead of dancing in the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's where it
And,
happened.
yeah. And Sandy, we yes, thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here, and I know you're multitasking. So, but
Yeah.
anybody else tuned in, feel free to jump in, ask questions. All right, so let's back up just a little bit here.
Okay.
Talk to us about the setup of this. What are the kind of the key pieces that people need to be thinking about before to kind of make this successful? Start with
Yeah, I think so. You can set up your event on your business page or in your private Facebook group. And then you want to include in your description of that event as much detail as you can so people know what to expect. Because I'm sure you all know sometimes you get invited to a lot of different events, and I don't know, you got to have something at the beginning that's going to catch them. And the beauty of those is you can add a co-host. So once you add a co-host or someone, so for me, it would be a host that's agreed to invite guests. So they're inviting their community so I can share with them.
Yeah. And before you get too far away from that, the hosts, what's in it for them, I guess, is the other side of this, right?
Yeah. So they would get, discounted products later on or potential free items and things like that. And then I guess because you're leading with education and you're providing tools and resources, the products are the bonus, right? But if you really share your event with the education side of things, I think, and the service side of things, then they feel more comfortable inviting their friends to come and attend. Sure. Because it's not just a sales pitch the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you talked about having doing it inside maybe a group. So if you have a group, I've also seen people that will set up a group specifically for this event, and it just instead of it being a group that's open all the time, it's kind of the group is the event, right? Yep. So you can just create a group for this event, and then once the event is done, you don't have to delete it. You basically just archive the group, so that way there's no continued posting and you have to monitor and stuff like that. But the cool part about doing that with the groups is that all of the content that you've created inside of that group, the post sharing, the videos, the GIFs, and all of that engagement that goes on, it's still there. So the people that were part of that group can go back to it and say, oh yeah, what was Kylene saying about the product switches that would be healthier than one or the other? I want to go back and find that, and they can do that inside the group, and they can. That also reminds them, hey, here's where I go if I want to buy some more products too. So that's one way to do it.
Yeah, right? And it is nice. And then if something new were to come out or you just wanted to share it, you can go back to those groups and post in there. I think some people might see the notification. I think they're still active, or at least I've done that in the past. I hope people have seen some of the posts, but so just as much detail as you can in that description, I think is huge, and then like what Aaron was saying, including the live event within your online workshop. You can schedule that and have that built in within your description. So you could schedule a Zoom meeting at 7:00 on Friday night, and that's included and on top of your 3-day online event.
Yeah. So I guess that'd be the next thing. I think we should probably try to get into the weeds here a little bit. Is when you're talking about a 3-day event, it basically is an event, meaning kind of encapsulating the opportunity to engage inside of the group, the sharing, the information that you're going to be sharing along the way, and then does it kind of then cap off with this? You mentioned Zoom, so is that kind of the way to make it more engaging too at that point, or what are some of the thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, I said Zoom just because it is something that people are really familiar with, and you can see people's faces when you do it. So it's kind of a more intimate live versus just going live on Facebook for people that you're talking to. So I would say kind of the nuts and bolts of doing this is you can schedule your posts ahead of time, and therefore you're not in there. But I would do at least 4 posts a day, and it would be a variety of things. And then I made sure I had like little Facebook lives each day for like 3 minutes to 5 minutes, welcoming the guests that came, or that thanking your hosts for having you. So you share with them, who you are, your connection to that host or your connection to that product, just building that relationship as much as you can early on.
Okay.
And then you can continue that for the 3 days or 4 days, however long you want to have it. And then you can end it with that Zoom meeting. And that's when you can really do a tutorial or showcase it, or just have fun. And, I don't know, you can be as creative as you want with that last event, but that's really where you really engage with the customers, or the participants, I should say, and build that relationship. But, you just have to keep in mind your main mission throughout the whole thing is to lead with your education. You're growing your network, you're building that trust, and then hopefully then the sales come.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I love that. A couple comments from Connie here. So do you also offer points or drawings to get them engaged? What are some thoughts there, Connie?
Yeah, I mean, you can, I guess it just depends on how much you want to spend for this party. You have to have your numbers and your budget. I have done it a couple different ways. I've done it where I offer, at that last Zoom meeting or live, I say anyone who places an order from this time to this time gets entered for a free item from Crunchy. Or I've done it where I've done a free coffee mug, or just something reusable straws, or just something at a lower price point. A lot of the ladies in the group that I'm with, they just find eco-friendly, toxin-free products on Amazon. And they'll just order it and have it directly sent from Amazon to the person at a really low price point. But again, if you're trying to share your products and your services, sometimes you got to figure out what's right for.
Sure. Yeah. And like you said, knowing your numbers and knowing what your budget is based on what you think you're going to be able to do with it, that definitely is important. Right. But I think also when Connie's talking about points or drawings or things like that, you can use that though as a way to encourage the engagement. So, everybody that shares this public post gets entered in, is a point, or, so you definitely want to think about setting up some sort of a point system to basically, funny that this comes up right here. I was actually watching Freakonomics last night. I finished that last night without you, Kylene. Sorry, just totally. And they were, one of the studies that they had done was this incentivizing kids to get better grades, to bring their grades up by paying them, and the whole theory around that. And they did find that there was some correlation to that. And so, we don't all just naturally engage and want to comment on every post, and we want to see and get the information and be in the know, but to put ourselves out there to actually share this with somebody and be judged by what we're sharing and all that other stuff, that's not always comfortable for everybody. So
Yep.
if you do set up a kind of a point system, I think that's a great idea. You set up a point system of, okay, everybody that's engaged in this point, this post, whoever shares a video or something like that, they get 10 points versus, if you just share this, you get 5 points or something along those lines. So I think, if you get that in the planning side of that, that can be a really good way to create engagement, make it not so boring, make it something where it's a game, right?
Yeah.
Our son likes to talk about how he's going to someday figure out a way to gamify everything. Yeah. That's what he wants to. He's Mr. Gamify, tries to make a game out of everything. Yeah. And so you can do that inside of these online parties.
And I think that takes, I really like that ongoing point basis idea. And I think it does keep people engaged more and having more fun with it versus just having information.
Yeah. So
shared all the time.
Sure. So Connie talks about if you make the host or hostess an admin, then the party can be available all the time, especially if they want to be a business owner, then they don't have to invite the same people and bring in the same content. So good point there.
Awesome. Yep.
Sure.
And then I think I said this at the beginning, but having that co-host and they're inviting, you want to tag the co-host as much as you can on your posts, because then it's more likely to show up on their friends' feeds versus you just posting on the group.
Sure. So one other thing I want to talk about, and I know there's still some things to cover here, but what you had mentioned, kind of scheduling the posts and being able to kind of, again, make this a repeatable program that you can do. But I know, I don't know if it was the last one or somewhere along the line, you learned a lesson about where you could and could not schedule posts. Share that real quick tip. There's a real nuts and bolt tip here that I think your learning opportunity is worth sharing with everybody else.
So I created the event just from my personal page instead of from my private group page. I believe now I didn't write it down, so I'll have to double check that. But because I did that, I was not able to schedule my posts. So I had them scheduled on a doc, but I had to 4 times a day go in and post versus having them all ready to go. So they automatically would post and then I could just go in and respond to comments and engage. I have a lot more work for myself by doing it that way. So that was definitely a lesson.
Yeah.
A tough lesson.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey.
But I mean, it was still all planned. It just was an extra 5 minutes every time that you want to do that. And that does add up over time.
Yeah. Connie, you're not the only one here, but I think Sandy's doing some multitasking. We did have some challenges getting into the Club OSG group this morning. I think Todd was able to get that going, so we may be live in there. But so this is we get whatever questions you got, Connie, bring them.
Yeah, we're ready.
We don't have to even talk about this. If you have other ideas, other thoughts, other things you'd like us to share our ideas about, or you've shared a lot of great information as well, so we really appreciate that. All right, Kylene. So what else here? What else are we missing? What else do we need to think about?
Well, I think you need to make your participants, the people attending your event, feel special. And one of the ways you can do that is you can send out messages. Facebook makes it really easy to send messages to the people attending. You can send a group message if you want, or you can just copy and paste message so it's more individual, and then you start that one-on-one conversation with the participants versus people know when they're getting a canned message, and it's really easy to disregard that. But if you change a few things. You don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but it really makes that person feel special, that you know they're there and you're there to answer their specific questions.
Yeah.
I think is huge. I mean, if you end your so many day long event with a Zoom or some kind of live event like that, you can do more of a canned message as a reminder. But I would think early on, you want to start that conversation. And I found really good success with doing that. It does take a little bit of time, but it's worth it if you truly are wanting to build your network.
Yep. All right. So Connie asks, how often do you think you should post in a day on a group party?
I would say at least 4 times, with a short live in there at some point, at least one. That's
and we're how long? Sorry, just to clarify for people and for me, how long of an event are we talking about here? What's the typical time frame that you found the most success with?
I've done 5-day events and 3-day events, and the 3-day events I think are have been the most successful.
Okay. Yep.
The 5-day, you kind of lose people. They check in and out, and I don't know. I think if you just jam pack it in,
yep.
and those three days, it's really successful. And then I usually do morning, mid-morning, afternoon, and then evening, and then after that first day, you can kind of see where people are engaging the most, what time, and then you can plan your live maybe around the time where people were most active for the next day and so forth.
Nice. Yeah. Connie mentioned a party 3 days. So and so I agree with you there. I would go so far as to personally to say a minimum of 3 or 4 times a day. I mean, I think you could probably have several posts, again, like you talked about, of different styles, one talking about something, sharing information, one engaging, one kind of getting somebody to, getting the fun going, that engagement, because the other part about it being boring potentially is that if you're not engaged a whole bunch in the entire time, basically kind of showing up all the time, the people on the other side of that are coming to the party, they're going to be about half as engaged as you are. So if you want a lot of engagement, then you've got to kind of go to that next level, 5, 6, 7 posts a day.
And with that is, you really have to work with your host ahead of time. And if they're not one to share a lot, you can give them ideas, or you can give them some content to add if they feel more comfortable that way. But the more your co-host shares, the more successful your event will be. And just because they have that connection. Yep,
totally. And like you said, you can kind of give them content ideas. I mean, I would go so far as to even, lay out a layout post for them and a schedule that you can kind of say, this is what works. Because I think the other part about this is when I asked about, what's in it for the host. And I think you got to keep that in mind too, and encourage them to really be actively engaged in the success of this event for themselves and for the relationship. So, I mean, in a way, it goes back to what Todd was talking about in the fundraising event. Is a big part of a successful fundraiser with the school, with whoever, is making sure that whoever you're raising funds for is actively engaged in the sharing and selling process. And I think the same goes for a host in this scenario. So, and Connie shared that I think it needs to be quick, and also a sense of urgency. If you give too much time, people do not stay engaged. So
well said. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that's what I found with the 5-day events was, by the time we got to that last Zoom, I mean, I don't know.
You were out of energy. They were out of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So one other quick question for you here, and then and if you have any other final thoughts, but you mentioned, kind of doing some lives throughout, interspersed, just some what about if it's a 3-day party, you plan on doing at least 3 lives? Is that kind of
at least? Yeah.
okay? So and I know what you've been doing these for is for Crunchy and a network marketing kind of program. So it's going to be a little bit different if you're a decorator, but I think, obviously tying it into whatever the community is that you serve, your niche, the community that the host's a part of, the community that the people that are going to show up are a part of. But with that being said, give us an idea of what the lives are all about. What's the content that you're sharing there?
Well, usually the first one is just the introduction, introducing yourself and how you're connected to the host and welcoming people and kind of setting the expectations. And then from there, you can do quick tutorials. So, for me, I was able to do my morning skincare routine or my morning makeup or evening things like that. But you could also do a hands-on thing where you show people the process of you making your mug. If you're selling a personalized item like that, or showing yourself making the t-shirt, and just giving people that connection to the product again.
Yeah. And letting them in behind the curtain too. I think that's another
it makes it more real. And especially for the skincare and makeup, when they actually see you using the products and you being brave enough to go on without any makeup, or it just you become more genuine.
Yeah.
And relatable.
I mean, I don't just show up looking like this. So. All right. So Connie says, planning a t-shirt party. I have plenty of interest in hosting. I just want it to be fun. This is an alternative way to earn income. There you go.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love this, but this almost to me, Connie, in a little bit sounds like you're kind of setting up your own network marketing program. Again, to me, there's no negative connotation to, and that's why I loosely use multi-level marketing, because to me, there's not a real negative connotation to that. But yeah, I think that's really awesome, and to make it fun. And I think these ideas that Kylene shared, some of the ideas that you've come up with, I really do think it's if you want to make it fun, you got to have fun. And again, if that's not your normal sense, if you're not that outgoing person, then that's where you do have to kind of show up a little bit more than your normal self. Again, like Connie mentioned earlier on, you don't want to go so over the top that it's fake. I don't want you to fake it, but I think, just really being aware of that, especially in the live videos that you do, especially during the actual event at the end. And one other comment I want to make here, Kylene, and hopefully I'm not stealing your thunder here, but I do love the idea of, okay, so we're doing this stuff. We're maybe doing live videos on Facebook. You could, I guess, if you really wanted to, just show up at the kind of final event and have it like this, where it's one-sided, there's comments going on that are typed in. But I think using Zoom, using an opportunity for everybody to show up and be a part, and have them bring drinks and have them, have snacks, and, and coordinate that. And, I want to see your guys' craziest cups or something along those lines. And then, and go from there. So having that Zoom does really allow it to become, a party. So in the decorators community, hopefully you guys have heard, but we did these Zoom cocktail parties early on inside of the pandemic. We did it for a while and then kind of fell off for a little bit. And we're going to do another one on July 2nd. So quick plug, July 2nd, go to tworegularguys.com/party for the information, or just reach out. I'll make sure that you have the information. But again, that interaction of, it's not just me selling you something. It's not just me sitting here sharing. It's okay, cool, we're here. There's some stuff that's kind of planned out, but at the end of the day, it is about just sitting here and enjoying an interaction with somebody, and it just happens to be on Zoom. So I think making sure you have that component side of it, that Zoom opportunity set up as well, is important. So Kylene, thoughts there?
Yeah, and like you were saying, you could have a theme with it. It could be, bring your favorite glass of wine, or like you said, your favorite cup, or wear your silliest t-shirt or your funniest t-shirt, or your favorite t-shirt, whatever it might be, to like have that common connection. So everyone's coming there with something in common, and then it helps break the ice, if you will. For people to continue to engage with one another.
Yep, totally. I think that's a great point, Kylene.
And then the other thing I was going to say was back to, I forget what you were saying, but anyway, when you let people behind the curtain and you want to build engagement there, I was thinking, I think Todd does this in his lives, but he lets some of the listeners have input on what he is going to do next. Doesn't he do that? What people want to learn more?
Sure.
And so that could be something you do. You could say, I have these 2 options of things to make next. What do you want to see? And then maybe people will feel more connected to joining you on your next behind the scenes or your live.
On the live inside of that. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea for sure. Yeah. Anytime. So the thing to avoid are yes or no questions, or just the blind share. So even in the post where you're sharing information, you want to make sure that there's always a question in there. Lead it with a question. Does anybody feel like they need to reduce the toxins that they're taking into their bodies? If so, or what are you doing to reduce the toxin talking about where Kylene's space here. So, whatever it's all about, basically ask them to answer the question, and then you can share information. So,
you kind of meet them where they're at, and then share the tools that they can use to.
Nice. I like that.
Meet
them where they're at. There you go. Quotable, Kylene quotable right there. Meet them where they're at. All right. Sandy asked, how are people ordering products during the party?
Well, I think if, depending on the type of party you're having, you're always going to have a link that people will click on, and that'll take them to order their products.
Yeah. And Connie shared that I'm setting up items on my website. The link will be under the items, and Equid works with the Facebook shop, so there'll be that interaction there. That way to order products during the party is by sharing those. You can share the Facebook shop items. Sorry, brain got a little fuzzy there for a second. All right, so Kylene, any final thoughts? And then you guys tuned in. Any other questions that you got? Any other comments you got? Thank you so much, Connie, especially and Sandy for tuning in, and anybody else who was able to catch this. And we'll have people catching the recorded version after the fact. So we also want your comments in here, and we will come back and engage with those comments and questions. So, Kylene, I'll let you give some final thoughts, and then we'll see what other folks have, and I'll close out with my final thoughts.
Well, I think the biggest thing you can do is keeping it casual and easy for the participants to engage and ask questions and order. I think if you can master that, you're really going to build those relationships, and then ultimately that will lead to sales. But if you can be genuine and not make it so difficult for people to order or connect with you, I think that's when you're going to have your struggles. So
yeah, I think you're exactly right. The main thing is just to really make sure the focus is on, like you said, the building the relationships, the educating, and not on the sales. I think as soon as it feels like they're just going to get sold the whole time, I think that's when people shut down and it becomes not engaging, not fun. Really almost to a point of where you always want to have a call to action. And I know I harp on you with this, Kylene, when you were doing this earlier on, I kept going, well, when are you going to ask for the sale? When are you going to ask for the sale? When are you ask for the sale? And you kind of just kept going, hey, it's good. I got this. And then after you built that relationship, then you asked for the sale, and you ended up reaching your goals with the party. So, even if you have a crazy guy standing over your shoulder saying, when are you going to ask for the sale? Tell him to shut up, and I got this,
Well, I think you just have to trust yourself. I think earlier on, though, I did need that encouragement to not be afraid to ask for the sale.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you definitely get it in there, but if that's your whole focus the entire time,
it doesn't feel good.
It's, I mean, if your whole focus the entire time is just to do the sale, then I think you're better off just doing that 1 hour, 2 hour live selling event where that's what the expectation is. But if you're asking people to get into a party and engage and have fun with you and all the other stuff, the last thing they want to do is be sold. That I think they want to go leave the experience. I think the best thing could be they leave the experience going, yeah, I had fun. I want something to connect myself to that fun. I want the product. I believe in what I've learned and that kind of thing. So there's never a hard sell. It's a, hey, thanks a lot. Here's an opportunity for you to, continue this journey. So yeah. And Connie makes a good point here. I think with the t-shirt party, they know they'll be buying. But I want you to think about this real quick, Connie, and you probably are. So this is kind of a general statement for everybody thinking about doing stuff like that. I get that when they show up to a t-shirt party, they know that they're going to be sold. But if they wanted to just buy something, they would just go do the buying on their own in the comfort of, they would just show up at a website and do the search however they would do a search. I don't think people are going to show up to a t-shirt party. Obviously, in the back of their mind, they know they're going to be sold. But if they feel like that's all that's happening is, oh, I got this post to engage, but then there's a link to buy something. And, oh, there's another link to buy something. And, oh, okay, I have to buy something today. Or, that I think you just got to kind of walk that fine line of yes, they know they're going to be sold, but at the same time, there's a lot of different ways that people can part with their money. And I don't think people are showing up to an event, a party to part with their money right away, right? You got to wine and dine them first. So, Kylene, any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I think they're there to connect with you and see and learn about what that t-shirt is all about and what it means to you and all the different ways you could wear it, or, just there's more than just the t-shirt of why they're coming.
Yeah.
Or they need a couple hours of fun and that's why they're coming. So.
Yeah. So Connie says, that's what I'm struggling with. I want to make it fun. Yeah. And I think to me, the number one way to make it fun is to make sure that the selling part is, I don't want to say not important, or even secondary doesn't seem like the right thing to say here. But on the flip side of that, I guess secondary is probably what I'm thinking here. I think that you need to focus your efforts on making it fun. And then if you do that, put the why first. Why they're doing it. You want them to have fun. Why them having fun is important to you and the hosts and that kind of stuff. And then the sales will come from that. But if you show up to this with the whole intention of how do I make sure that I'm selling, as opposed to why having fun is important, why engaging is important. We know ultimately why engaging and having fun is important is because it's going to be easier for them to make that purchasing decision. But if that's what you're showing up for completely, I think that is going to be a bigger challenge.
Yeah, I would just go back to having like a theme. So everyone's coming there with something in common. And whatever that could be, that could just set the tone, and then you just build out from there.
Yep. Okay.
Activities. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback for whatever reason.
Yeah, it was cutting out there for 1 second. So, so Sandy says, I thought of doing some sort of event where I offer my extra polos and people can decide what to embroider on it, given set options, just not how to work it. So what, do you have any thoughts on that, Kylene? Are you hearing that? Or are you still getting feedback?
I'm getting a little feedback still, but
must be up there here. Anyhow, I will share some of my ideas here real quick, Kylene, and see if it catches up here. So Sandy again says, I thought of doing some sort of event where I offer my extra polos and people can decide what to be embroidered on it, given set options, just not how to work it. I mean, I think there's some different options here, and it depends on how how creative you want to get with this, or how much you want to. I mean, heck, I think if it's a option of, okay, here's the blue polo here, like you said, here are the set options. Is that something that you could do inside of the event? All right. With embroidery, I think obviously there's some setup, but there is also some time where the machine can kind of be running in the background while you're doing some other things. So maybe, the first 2 people get a special deal, and you're going to make their product live for them. And then the next 10 people, will have theirs shipped by tomorrow, and then, and a different kind of discount level. And so those are some quick ideas there. I mean, I think that would be cool. I think people would, it's been amazing to me over the 20 years that I've been in this industry, how mesmerized people are with the process of what we're doing. And even people that have been in this, being at trade shows, I remember when we first, back in 2004, 2006 range, when we were selling direct to garment machines, these are people that make t-shirts all day. And when we would give away t-shirts, we'd have a line of people, and these are people that could go make their own t-shirt, but they were so mesmerized with this new process, this direct to garment type thing, that being able to see it in action, I think really creates something. So, and I know that's tough. I know that brings its own set of challenges and so you might need a helper with something like that, but I think that would be cool. So, Kylene,
that's what I was going to say. I mean, how cool would it be, like you said, to offer the first couple people the free shirt, and then show the process of it actually being embroidered on the shirt, and the rest of the people, it would just be mailed to them. I think I love to see how things are put together, especially embroidery.
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinates me.
Yep. So Connie says, my first party host wants sarcastic shirts. And I think that's really, and you talked about fun. I mean, heck, right there, you've got that tie-in. I mean, I can think of different ways, like, what's the greatest form of sarcasm you've ever seen, and just keep wrapping around that theme. You need a Gen Xer to be sarcastic. I'm very sarcastic, as Kylene will tell you. So I want to show up for that party. I'm already excited and engaged.
And I think that just right there sets the tone for your event. And then people come in with that state of mind of having fun. Yeah. So I don't think you have to worry too much. I think you'll be do a great job.
Awesome. And then Connie shared with Sandy, I'm doing a pop-up sale that will just be inventory items. I'm picking about 10 designs I can choose from. Connie, how are you going to be decorating those? Is it going to be a transfer, or a print, a direct to garment? I apologize. I don't recall off the top of my head what techniques that you have. I know I should, but brain's not functioning so well this morning. So that'd be cool. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Heck, Kylene, there we go. Connie said transfers. Perfect. And again, cool. But that press popping up, that press opening, the steam coming off, there's just something about that. Heck, like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I still it's still a cool feeling to see that finished product come off, so, and Connie says cash and carry, and I will have helpers. So yeah,
Cool.
I agree with what Kylene said. I think you got this, Connie. I think you're going to really do a great job with it. Sounds like you've really got all the ducks in a row already. So, I would say just do it. All right. So, Kylene, anything else? We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes here. So thanks for everybody sticking through my early technical issues. And thanks to Kylene for all of the information. Thanks to Connie for sharing all the information that she's shared. If you guys do have any questions, and I'll give you a chance to give your real final thought here in 1 second, Kylene. But if people do have any questions and they'd like to reach out, ask questions, I'll get the question in front of Kylene as well if you've got questions for her. But if you guys aren't familiar, but our email address, success@oursuccessgroup.com, is where you can reach out, and we are happy to answer anything we can come up with. And like I said, if we don't know the answer, we'll find somebody who does. So, Kylene, closing thoughts from you.
Reach out if you have questions, like Aaron just said. Happy to walk you through anything. If you're stuck on an idea, reach out, and maybe with our experience, we can help you. And then just have fun with it, whatever you're doing. Just have fun.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, from Connie's perspective there, if you're starting off with a sarcastic shirt, I'm not sure. But again, I'm somebody who my first language is actually sarcasm. So English is only my second language. So sarcasm is something that I would have a ton of fun with. Kylene might want to smack me, but that's a different story. All right. Well, Kylene, thank you so much for your time. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're catching this after the fact, don't hesitate to engage. Put your comments in there still. Continue it on. We're happy to continue answering and sharing. Next week, I will be getting back to some mindset stuff again here, and excited to do that. I've actually been going through a pretty intensive boot camp for the Canfield training program stuff that Kylene and I are both success principle trainers, but I'm now stepping into their next certification program and doing that. And so I'm excited to kind of share some more mindset stuff that I've been able to take in over these last. We've done some all day. In fact, we did 3 days in a row, 9-hour days on Zoom. So I've spent a lot of time sitting in front of a Zoom camera and learning a lot about how to engage and keep people going in breakout rooms and all sorts of fun stuff. We'll get to that stuff a little bit later down the road. But from a mindset perspective, I get to share next week 5 things keeping you from success. And within that, we'll have some alternative things that you can do instead, right? So we're not just going to tell you what not to do. We're also going to share some ideas about what to do. So, all right. There we go. Connie, me too. Sarcasm is her first language as well. So no wonder we get along so well, Connie. All right, cool. Well, Kylene, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And I'll see you at the breakfast table in just a moment. And then we'll get to go visit my dad and pick up our dog after him watching her for about a month. So
yes, it's time.
Yep, I need my princess back. Not just Kylene. Sorry.
Oh boy.
I knew that was coming. All right. Well, thank you everybody.
All right,
Have a great rest of your Saturday, and we will talk to you guys soon.